Hey yo, what up, Wisecrack? Chris here to talk about something that's been dishing out Fatality since 1992. That's right. Now, we're longtime fans of the game, and even have a soft spot for the often ridiculed 1995 film. So we are pretty jazzed for a 2021 reboot and the opportunity to hear "Get over here" on the big screen. But as the end credits rolled, something just wasn't sitting right. Don't misunderstand us. It brings a certain level of fun and spectacular blood squirting, and that might be all you want from a Mortal Kombat movie, which is fine. But we'd argue that the movie misunderstands a basic appeal of Mortal Kombat that the 1995 version mostly got right. We'll explain in this Wisecrack Edition on Mortal Kombat what went wrong, and spoilers ahead for the Mortal Kombat Extended Universe. And before we jump into it, I wanted to give a shout out to this week's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. If you don't know, Raid is an awesome hero collector RPG where you can collect champions and battle up against friends or players online. We've been playing Raid for a while now here at Wisecrack, so we've been able to collect a lot of champions. Some of my faves include the epic Battle Sage and the legendary Astrolon. They are essential to my clan. Battle Sage places an increased attack buff on all allies, and removes all debuffs on allies, and places a revival on death buff for all your teammates, which can be so helpful. Collecting heroes and building up my team is one of my favorite parts of the game. You can really plan a strategy before heading against some of the tougher campaigns. The game is constantly updating, so there's always something new to do. This month, they've released 11 new amazing champions, and now there are almost 200 brand new missions to complete, with an exclusive legendary champion as your reward. If that's not enough, they added 5 tough new levels to almost every dungeon. Ready to play some Raid and check out everything the game has to offer? Click the links in the description to download the game for iOS, Android, or PC today. And now, back to the show. To understand what makes for a good Mortal Kombat film adaptation, we first need to look at what made the game so beloved in the first place. Beyond the basic game mechanics, there's a joy in discovering all the fatalities, the seemingly inexplicable pop-up of a guy saying and the je ne sais quoi of impaling your opponent on a floor of spikes. Mortal Kombat differs from other fighting games largely because of its blend of humor, self-awareness, and joyful over-the-topness in everything from the costume design to the character concepts. Compare that to a competitor like Street Fighter, a relatively straightforward fighting game that, while featuring a green dude who electrocutes you, generally takes itself pretty seriously. By contrast, whether you're turning your opponent into a literal baby or just turning them into your new best friend, Mortal Kombat fully embraces the ridiculous, even and maybe especially in its most violent moments. And the 1995 film followed the same ethos, and not just when you were watching a 6-limb puppet get owned by a single punch to the groin. From its set design to its performances, the film is nothing if not over the top. In this way, both the game and the original film are excellent examples of the camp aesthetic. And I'm not talking about bent tent poles and damp sleeping bags. Now, camp is a word that gets tossed around a lot in film buff circles, but it's worth really examining what it means. As Helen A. Shugart and Catherine Egley-Wagon explain, camp is an over-the-top, playful, and parodic aesthetic, and its use of the exaggerated, ostentatious, outrageous renders it, effectively, a spectacle. Though camp has become virtually mainstream in recent decades, appearing in everything from Desperate Housewives to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it originated in queer subcultures as far back as the 18th century. The aesthetic became a way to use camp's irony, theatricality, parody, and humor to cope with and combat social stigma. In Susan Sontag's notes on camp, she identifies the camp aesthetic in various cultural products, ranging from Tiffany's lamps to actress Greta Garbo. The unifying theme here is that they all broadcast their own theatricality and artifice. The films of John Waters are also a prime example of campiness, delivering wretched, often filthy excess with a Lucille Bluth-style wink. All in all, camp is, simply put,
too much, man!
Camp culture, in some ways, is an attack on high culture, according to Sontag, in that it asserts that good taste is not simply good taste, that there exists indeed a good taste of bad taste. Now, campiness permeates just about every frame of the 1995 Mortal Kombat film. That's why, even though the film was not particularly well received when it first came out, it's retained a serious cult following. The reasons become clear in the opening moments, when we see an over-dramatically rendered fight framed in over-the-top canted or dramatically tilted angles. It's punctuated by sound effects that are much too loud, and rounded out with absurd performances like,
"Your brother's soul He's mine.
Oh, and then his face turns into a skeleton, and if that's not too much, I don't know what is. When this guy's eye full on twitches, that's camp. When a giant skull appears in the sky through less than convincing CGI effects, that's also camp. This?
What more do you want?
Total camp. And when the camera literally tilts under this guy's crotch just as he's asserting his masculinity, you better believe that's camp. But did the filmmakers do all of this on purpose? That question raises an important tension within the camp aesthetic: intentionality. According to Sontag, sometimes camp is completely naive, happening by mistake and resulting in failed seriousness. The Room, of course, is an absolute masterclass in this.
You're just a chicken. Chip, 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 chip.
Other times, as with any performance by the actress Divine in a John Waters film, the campiness is the intention. The creators are in on the joke. What's interesting about Mortal Kombat is that it feels like we're seeing instances of both kinds of camp within one film, which is pretty unusual. The campy performance by Kristopher Lambert as Lord Raiden feels pretty purposeful. There's just no way he wanted you to take his character completely seriously, if seriously at all. In moments like these, the film feels like it's self-consciously trying to be camp.
It's, how do you say? A deal's a deal.
What have you done?
I made a choice.
As a means of leaning into the video game's absurdities. But there are other moments where you can sense a failed attempt at seriously carrying out a cinematic gesture, like this Divine moment when a ninja comes up to fight but trips over himself just a little bit. Moments like that, of failed seriousness, somehow make the film more lovable. The absurdity of Mortal Kombat's camp aesthetic is a big part of why it's remained such a cult classic.
Fatality.
Oh, and also heads blowing off. This is why we were puzzled to see how the screenwriter behind the remake approached retelling this story. He told Polygon that, with something like Mortal Kombat where we're talking about soul-sucking sorcerers, it can very easily slip into camp. So right away, he's rejecting some of Mortal Kombat's DNA. He continued, "I love the '95 film, but it drips in nacho cheese. But we were in 2021, and we wanted to deliver a movie that felt more authentic, a little more realistic. I mean, realistic isn't the first word that comes to mind when I see this. But okay, the decision to lean out from the camp factor is not subtle. The overall aesthetics of the newest installment are less colorful, less zany, and less punctuated with over-the-top set designs. Instead, and despite clearly having a bigger budget, the new film exercises far more visual restraint, settling for darker, barer shots and simpler production design. Also, quite a bit of it takes place in the real world, which is depicted quite unremarkably. The camera angles err on the side of conventional as compared to its predecessors' aforementioned widely canted angles and occasional crotch shot. The total differences between the two films are obvious from the first moments of the new film, which don't include the glorious theme song, but rather set up a true family tragedy. In the 1995 version, when Liu Kang sees his brother get murdered, the fighting is over the top, rendered a near total caricature by the performances. It's not trying to tug at your heartstrings. In the new version, a woman and her child are murdered off screen by Killer Ice Guy in a moment conveyed through this guttural cry for help. Her husband, upon finding them dead, seeks a tearful revenge against the attackers, only to tragically be defeated. Here, they've built up a genuine drama which sets the tone for a film that is definitely not going to embrace the goof factor. Except Mortal Kombat isn't supposed to be about killing people's families. It's about melting a person's face with acid. And it feels like a bit of a contradiction to make a determinedly serious and gritty film when you literally have a character whose magical power is having a killer hat. We can also see these kinds of problems in more one-to-one comparisons. Take the way Kano is murdered in each film. In the first, he's put into a deadly crotch hold, says,
"Oh, give me a break,"
and promptly has his neck broken by the sheer force of Sonya's thighs. It's ridiculous. It's goofy. In the new version, he's stabbed in the eye, emitting a guttural moan as he collapses to his death. Not exactly a lol moment. Similar lulls were lost in the new film's depiction of Goro, our favorite four-armed pal.
Now I tear out your spine.
In the first, he's an absurd puppet who likes wrestling and has a penchant for going like. Even when he kills, it just feels kind of funny, as do the character's reactions to the death. In the new version, Goro's a scary CGI concoction who literally hunts down the main character's wife and child. Gone is any trace of the original's himbo charm. When summing up our criticism of the new film, It's worth considering another quote from Sontag's seminal essay. When something is just bad, rather than camp, it's often because it is too mediocre in ambition. The artist hasn't attempted to do anything really outlandish. This seems to sum up the problems of the Mortal Kombat remake to a T. It's a gore-filled film full of insanely over-the-top action, but infused with zero sense of humor, other than the occasional lame crack from Kano.
Arms dealer, drug runner, murder for hire, scum of the earth.
I also give really good foot massages.
And one great shout out to the game's most annoying strategy.
That's the only move you know, mate.
In this way, the film fails to hit the mark of outlandish in the way that its predecessor did so beautifully. But what do you guys think? Are we being too harsh on the remake? Is the 1995 version outdated or as lovable as ever? Let us know in the comments. As always, thanks to our patrons for all your support. Hit that subscribe button like you're splitting someone in half vertically with a deadly hat, and don't forget to ring that bell. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.